Henyard vows the show will go on.
You told us on Election Day we haven't heard the last of you. What's next for you?
It's a lot next for me.
We are nearing the conclusion of a highly controversial chapter, as we've repeatedly covered. The notorious and corrupt supermayor Tiffany Henyard has now effectively lost control in the village of Dalton. Already removed from her position in Thornton Township, it's now only a matter of time before she holds no elected office at all. But of course, the drama doesn't end quietly. Shocking new developments continue to unfold. While earlier reports stated she was earning over $250,000, just shy of $300,000 from her dual roles, a newly released audit by local media has revealed that her actual earnings exceeded $300,000. And if that wasn't outrageous enough, her luxurious first-class travel across the country was funded by taxpayers through an incentive program that gave her a $600 daily travel allowance, enabling her to leave Dalton and enjoy lavish getaways. The entire situation is jaw-dropping. But what truly defies belief is that she still has defenders within the community. Some even make laughable excuses, like claiming she's just doing what men have been doing for years. She needs her security, and she gives back to the community. Seriously, that's the best justification out there. Let's be real, the corruption and abuse of power aren't gendered issues. Defending her misconduct by pointing fingers at men doesn't erase the damage she caused, nor does it justify the misuse of public funds or betrayal of public trust. That said, credit must be given where it's due. The residents of Dalton did make a mistake in electing Tiffany Henyard, but they acted swiftly once the truth became clear. They organized a recall effort almost immediately, though unfortunately it was struck down by a judge. Still, the people didn't back down. They remained persistent and eventually delivered a crushing defeat at the polls. Henyard was replaced by trustee Jason House in a staggering 88-2 blowout. It was a powerful moment of accountability and a strong signal that the community refused to tolerate such blatant corruption. Despite all of this, a few residents continue to make excuses or ignore the facts. If anyone genuinely believes that Henyard is being held accountable just because she's a woman, doing what men have done for years, then they clearly aren't acknowledging the massive trail of dysfunction and scandal she left behind. Her behavior was egregious by any standard, and gender doesn't excuse it. The consequences she faces are a direct result of her own actions, not some grand conspiracy against her. Now, we bring you what may be the final chapter in the Super Mayor saga. But before diving into this last installment, I want to take a moment to thank those supporting the channel at actualjusticewarrior.com/join. Yes, go ahead and give me the money. Tiffany Henyard, the self-anointed super mayor, is finally on her way out, set to leave office in the coming weeks after a humiliating defeat at the ballot box. Her downfall was fueled by outrageous spending, constant conflict with trustees, and an ongoing FBI investigation. Local media has now released a comprehensive report detailing the scandals that led to her collapse. Far too many to cover here without turning this into a multi-hour breakdown. That's why I've linked the full Supermayor playlist in the description and pinned comment, where you'll find nearly 30 in-depth videos exposing her chaotic rule. Today's video focuses on the newest developments, and no, these aren't the false allegations Henyard often dismisses. These are verifiable facts. Newly released documents show she exploited every available perk and was collecting far more money than previously known. The image of the supermayor living large on the taxpayers' dime is no longer just speculation. It's now fully confirmed. I love y'all, and there is nothing you can do about it. That's what she always says. But now, the curtain is coming down on the Tiffany Henyard show. Still, she couldn't resist one last performance. So we showed up at what may be her final food giveaway as she tried desperately to hold on to the spotlight. But while she posed for cameras, new financial data dropped, revealing the staggering cost this charade has imposed on taxpayers. It was Easter weekend. Cars stretched for blocks, families waited patiently, and thousands of dollars in public funds were once again spent on what has become a familiar high-profile stunt. What stood out most? Every food box had her name printed boldly across it. Supermayor Tiffany Henyard. These giveaways weren't just charity. They were carefully planned PR, part of a calculated effort to buy affection, disguise corruption, and manipulate public opinion. Because in her own words, everything we do is for the people. But let's be clear, Henyard never wanted. The trustees speaking. She wanted total control of the narrative. She made it loud and clear. Y'all ain't learned that yet. The mayor speaks, not the trustees. They do nothing. All they do is run their mouths. No work, nothing. And then came the classic Henyard meltdown. She ranted. Anyone claiming they work, that is all they do. Talk. I am a workaholic. Am in this village until midnight while y'all are sleeping or out at the bars. I am sick of it. Name one ordinance that benefited the people. Just one. You cannot. Everything y'all pass is for your own benefit. You, your attorneys, your own pockets. She went on. But everything we do, it is for the people. Yet, we are constantly under attack. We are being scrutinized in the media. For what? For caring? For showing people they matter. We are going through the fire for y'all, me and my administration. But in reality, what we were witnessing was the final desperate act of the so-called supermayor. In true authoritarian style, Tiffany Henyard followed the classic playbook, drained the public's money, robbed the community of its labor, live lavishly on taxpayer funds, and then return a few scraps in the form of free giveaways. But let's not kid ourselves, none of it was free. The food she passed out was paid for by the very people she exploited. And she made sure her name and face were everywhere on boxes, banners, and signs like a self-proclaimed savior the people were supposed to worship. This stunt wasn't about service. It was about strategy, winning hearts with handouts. But the move didn't work. Her staged photo ops and shameless propaganda didn't keep her in power. She's been kicked out of both roles. Yet even in her final moments, she continues to bleed public funds dry, throwing crumbs to the same people. She robbed a still. People lined up. Not out of loyalty, but out of necessity. One woman said it plainly. I never voted for her, and I never will. But I'm here to grab some food. Another added, I like the giveaways, but I do not like her. She is rude. She is only giving back what we already gave her, but no one else is doing it, so I am taking it. And that right there speaks volumes. The people in these long lines, they're not fooled. They know exactly what's going on. They see the food handouts for what they are, a distraction, a smokescreen. They know that Henyard has taken far more than she's ever returned. Yet somehow, some local outlets still try to justify her actions, even suggesting some programs were worthwhile. But that gives her way too much credit. Even this specific food giveaway wasn't really about helping. It was about her ego, her image, her name slapped on every box in hopes of winning praise. Yes, she spent huge amounts of public money. And yes, some of it went toward programs with tangible benefits. But let's not forget, she gained massively, and not in ways the public approved of. Newly released records revealed that in just the past year, Henyard collected over $347,000 in salary from her dual roles in Dalton and Thornton Township. That's more than what the mayor of Chicago earns. That includes $282,000 from Thornton Township alone, plus $4,900 a month for expenses and $1,100 monthly for a vehicle. all while Dalton taxpayers had already shelled out 6 figures for 2 SUVs to escort her around town like a VIP. As previously reported on this channel, Tiffany Henyard's salary from Thornton Township was estimated at around $225,000, with an additional $50,000 coming from the village of Dalton. That alone placed her above the governor of Illinois in earnings, making her one of the highest-paid public officials in the state. But new findings reveal she was earning even more. Add another $75,000 to her total compensation, and things become even more outrageous, even more shocking. She received nearly $5,000 a month in expenses while simultaneously billing Dalton and Thornton for the same items, essentially double-dipping and pocketing the difference. That infamous $1,100 monthly vehicle stipend that came from the township, not Dalton. So why then was the village of Dalton being charged for a separate vehicle lease? Why was Henyard billing Dalton for a truck when she was already receiving transportation funds from Thornton? In one of the most reckless financial decisions to date, she signed a lease for a Chevy Tahoe, and the deal was a complete disaster. As one official described it, it is like a 19-year-old walked into a dealership, got slapped with a 27% interest rate, and signed without reading a single line. Documents dated December 27, 2022, showed the total cost of the lease was a staggering $149,146.20 for a truck with a cash value of just $93,216.71. That means over $55,000 was wasted on interest and fees. Henyard's signature all over the paperwork. Think about how outrageous this is. She was already receiving $1,100 a month from Thornton Township to cover vehicle expenses. Yet, instead of using that allowance, she made Dalton, which wasn't even giving her a vehicle stipend, pay nearly $150,000 for the Tahoe lease. It's financial lunacy. It proves that every accusation of fiscal recklessness was dead on. Sure, she might throw one last food party or dance at community events, but that's all for show. While pretending to celebrate with the public, she was draining taxpayer funds, not just through her inflated salary, but with nearly $6,000 in monthly guaranteed expenses, funneled straight into her own pockets. Let's also not forget that, since losing re-election, Tiffany Henyard hasn't shown up to a single board meeting. When asked why, she offered no explanation. Why isn't she attending? Is she still upset over the election outcome? The reality is, she's still officially in office, but acting like her duties ended the day after Election Day. That's not how government works. She remains the head of the township, yet she continues to party, skip meetings, and dodge every responsibility she was elected to fulfill. It's a slap in the face to every resident who ever trusted her to lead. Then there's Stephanie Weidman, a township employee of 20 years who became a whistleblower on Henyard's misconduct. Her take was simple. If she had just admitted her mistakes, people would have moved on. But instead, she put on a show. Every 2 weeks, it felt like we were watching a new episode of a sitcom. And with that comment, the truth becomes crystal clear. The Henyard era was never about governance or leadership. It was about control, image, and enriching herself while the people of Dalton and Thornton footed the bill. And of course, right on cue, we get the tired, divisive defenses. "Y'all should be ashamed of yourselves," one supporter screamed. "Y'all are the ones costing this village money." And just like always, the same news outlets ran the same overused clip. "Y'all are black. Y'all attacking a black woman." That clip has now become a recurring feature, pulled straight from this very channel's archive, featured in nearly every super mayor video. Now they're just recycling it. Honestly, I don't know whether to laugh or yell, but all I can say is, shame on y'all. Seriously, jokes aside, none of this is surprising. Anyone who's been paying attention knows the truth. Tiffany Henyard never cared about the people of Dalton or Thornton Township. Her goal was never service. It was self-promotion from the beginning. So, of course, once someone like her, who pulled more public money than the mayor of Chicago or even the governor, loses an election, they check out. No accountability. No commitment to finish the job. Just disappear into the background. Hoping people forget. Let's not forget the last time Tiffany Henyard actually attended a Thornton Township board meeting. It erupted into a literal fistfight, and yes, Henyard herself jumped in and started throwing punches. So no, it's not surprising that she's since ghosted her responsibilities. Recently, WGN Investigates exposed even more of her shady behavior, including luxury travel for Henyard and her entourage that cost over $100,000 in taxpayer funds. We're talking about stays at the Four Seasons, steakhouse dinners, and first class. Flights all funded by the public. When asked about this in late 2023, Henyard gave her usual dodge. "I do not handle anything related to credit cards." And when asked directly if she went to Las Vegas, her response was no comment, followed by pretending she couldn't remember. Seriously? Now look, I get it. Even WGN might be feeling the same kind of withdrawal I am. The super mayor. Drama is fading, and they're desperate to keep it going. But please, stop digging through my old clips like you're trying to bring her back from the political grave. I'm an entertainer. You're supposed to be the news. The media starts copying me. Then who exactly are they supposed to be leading? That said, the clip they're using is iconic for a reason. It captures the core of who Henyard is: smug, evasive, and utterly allergic to accountability. That's why her fall was inevitable, and why the wreckage she left behind is now a burden for taxpayers to clean up. Let's also talk about the insane perks. Thornton Township had a policy where board supervisors, including Henyard, got extra money just to travel. $600 a day for out-of-state trips, $400 a day for in-state, on top of all travel costs being covered. So yes, her reported salary was $347,000. But that number balloons when you include these absurd incentives. And here's where it gets really slimy. Henyard would accept the daily travel payments, then use township credit cards to cover the same expenses, meaning she kept the cash for herself. That's not just unethical, that's systemic abuse of power and funds. Now, when her replacement was asked about these bloated payouts, he dodged the question. His excuse, what someone earns, depends on what they deliver. It's like saying, athletes shouldn't be paid millions, or doctors should earn less. Really? That's the comparison. You're not curing cancer or winning Super Bowls, you're running a township. So while I've praised the new leadership in Dalton, especially for trying to clean up Henyard's mess, I can't say the same about the new Thornton Township supervisor. If this is how he starts, we might just be looking at another Henyard. Only this time, quieter and more strategic, with everything that's happened and how easily the system was manipulated. The only thing that matters now is whether the people stay alert, stay engaged, hold these officials accountable. The residents of Dalton and Thornton have already endured enough scandal, mismanagement, and betrayal. And yet, somehow, despite the overspending, the alleged fake cancer charity, the ongoing federal investigation, and even physical altercations at public meetings, Henyard still has supporters. Some people are simply determined to defend her, no matter what, and right on cue. Here comes the same tired excuse. She's just doing what men have done for years. Okay then, where is the man who pulled all of this off and stayed in office, who raked in this level of cash, caused this much chaos, and still managed to avoid a total political collapse? It doesn't exist. It's beyond wild that Tiffany Henyard still has defenders. But I guess that's politics. Politicians come and go, but chaotic, controversial figures like the so-called super mayor. They leave behind a legacy, for better or worse. Anyway, Those are my thoughts on this completely insane saga. Let me know what you think down in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe for more content, follow me on social media, and support the channel through the links in the description. This has been a full breakdown of how Tiffany Henyard took far more than anyone realized, and why the consequences of her time in office may linger over Dalton and Thornton Township for years to come.